What's going on, guys? My name is PJ, and on my channel I talk about different ways that we can connect to our true self. One of the best ways that I have found in my own personal journey of connecting to my true self has been the Enneagram. I honestly haven't really found any tool that in and of itself is this powerful to help us really understand what that true self is and connect to it more and more on a daily basis. So today I have a set of questions for us, no matter what type we are, to ask ourselves. I'm going to go type by type, and I'm going to bring up 5 questions. Well, I should have taken 10, but 5 questions that it would benefit each type to ask themselves. The Enneagram itself is a tool that helps us bring more self-awareness into our life by providing us with a map that then we can use to observe ourselves as we go throughout our day. The Enneagram gives us this tool where it says, hey, these are the patterns that as your type you tend to play out. And as you learn to observe those patterns more and more in action, you learn to kind of disidentify with them and not see yourself as your type, but be able to utilize your type as, you know, your higher self in a sense, and use your type, use your personality for a greater good, for a greater cause. So in a sense, your spirit can be channeled through your type and come into this world, but basically the will that you're serving is a higher will. At least that's how I would like to use the Enneagram. I would like to use the Enneagram as a tool that helps the voice of my ego become quieter and quieter and quieter so that my spirit can become louder and louder and louder. But the ego doesn't disappear, it's that just my spirit begins to use it for a greater good, greater cause. So today, the video that I'm shooting today was highly inspired by one of my personal favorite Enneagram books, and it is this book right here. It's called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. Bring this right here. The Wisdom of the Enneagram. It is by Don Richard Risso and Russ Hudson. So Russ Hudson is actually one of my personal favorite Enneagram teachers, and I've talked about another program of his that is pretty new. It came out in January of 2021. And that program is called the Enneagram 9 Pathways or 9 Gateways to Presence. And that program is phenomenal. It deepened my understanding of the Enneagram so much. And obviously that book that I just showed you is the fundamentals of the Enneagram as Don Risso and Russ Hudson taught it many years ago. I think that book came out in 1998 or something like that. So the ideas or the 5 questions for each type that I'm going to propose to you were highly inspired by what I learned about the types from that book. Obviously, every Enneagram book has the type descriptions, but I really felt like the descriptions in this book, not to knock any other book, are more deep when it comes to the spiritual content, so to speak. It goes way beyond just the personality. It goes a lot deeper into essence, as they would call it. So the questions were inspired by that book, so I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. But those questions are not in the book, so it's just based on type descriptions and what I learned from their descriptions. So without further ado, let's jump in and discuss type 1's 5 questions to ask themselves. Okay, so I'm going to read these from my phone because I want to make sure I get them right. And little preface too is that these questions are just serving you to help expand your self-awareness practice. So these questions, the reason I wanted to share them with you is to help you bring even more awareness to yourself, your patterns, your habits, by helping you stop and pause and reflect on these questions. And Tony Robbins always says that the quality of our life is based on the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. So hopefully these questions help boost your quality of life as you begin asking yourself more and more on a daily basis. So 5 questions for type 5s. All right, first question. Is the lifestyle you've created actually ruining your chances of finding a real niche for yourself and becoming competent at that? So, if you look at the basic desire for type 5s, it's that they want to be competent at something, right? And usually they want to be competent at something fairly unique. So the lifestyle though that they create is that they isolate themselves or tend to, especially at lower levels of health, they tend to isolate themselves, keep themselves from experiencing new things and going places, interacting with new people, and they tend to just want to chill at the house, kind of quarantine even without any lockdown, and just that's the thing. That's what they want to do. But that routine and that lifestyle may actually prevent you from fulfilling that basic desire, the highest desire of being competent. Um, because it's not allowing you to find new niches, new things, new avenues, new talents to express and cultivate and learn about and research and really um, become competent at ultimately over time. So just something to be mindful of, because sometimes we have these self-defeating behaviors that, let's say we want something, the basic desire, like for example, like the type 9 basic desire is to be, let's say, at peace, right? Like, to put it very simply, and like to avoid conflict. Well, avoiding conflict all the time is actually going to cause situations that are going to bring a bigger conflict that then you can't avoid, and then you're going to not have peace. So it's like just understanding that, like, we have these self-defeating ways of getting our basic desire met that our personality thinks is a great way, but it can be a sure way, way to that will backfire on us and actually not help us get that basic desire met. So that's what it is for type 5s, is that their super isolated way of being is ruining their chances of becoming competent at a specific unique niche, because they're not exposing themselves to new things. So that is number one. Number two, do you have a physical activity in your life? So the type 5s are the type that is the most likely to be like, I don't even need the body. I just need, the mind. And if the mind could even be separate, like from the body, and the body could just like be like this control, remote control machine that I control with the mind, like I'd be cool with that. The thing is though, the mind and the body are so connected. And oftentimes what type 5s may end up doing is that they're not in touch with their body. Sorry. They're not in touch with their body, and they're not, physically active, and they're not expressing the aliveness that is within the body. But doing so will actually make their thinking a lot sharper, would make them be more embodied. And actually the path of growth for type 5s is to go to type 8 in a sense, right? It's like to integrate those 8 aspects. And the 8s are super in touch with the body. I mean, they're overly in touch with the body and the instincts of the body, the aliveness of the body. And some sort of physical activity is going to bring that into type 5's life, and allow them to not only think more clearly, but just be more confident, more alive, and feel like that they have the capacity to deal with what life will throw at them, and that they are able to get out there and have the energy to learn new things, express different talents of theirs, and become high, go higher and higher in the expression of their type and innate essence, so to speak. So that's something that could be super helpful, and you can ask yourself, like, how much physical activity have I done in the past week, in the past month, and that will help you introduce something that's exciting. Like, maybe swimming will be more exciting than going to the gym and running and lifting weights. So whatever it is, find that and actually be physically active. It'll help you a lot in your mental health too. So number 3, are you at all doing anything that will make you more competent in relation to those areas that are most debilitating your confidence? So the goal of this question is, let's say public speaking or fear of public speaking is actually like just ruining your self-confidence. Okay, like it's just like anytime there's any situation that may involve the slightest public speaking, you will avoid it. And by avoiding those things, by avoiding those fearful situations where you feel super not confident, you're stopping and preventing and holding yourself back from certain opportunities for growth, for expansion, for becoming more competent. Because let's say you want to become a really competent doctor or a neuroscientist or something like that, or whatever, molecular biologist. I probably butchered that word, so you can best believe I'm not going to become one of those. But let's say you want to become that. Well, then you may think to yourself, if I pursue that, I will have to give presentations to my whole team, to my whole class on a frequent basis. So I'm just not gonna do anything. Well, I'm not gonna even pursue that. But B, I'm not even gonna do anything that will help me get better at that thing that I'm afraid of, public speaking, so that I don't have to turn down these awesome opportunities, these awesome avenues for me to travel down upon and expand and grow into who I'm meant to be. So the whole encouragement that question is meant to bring is to realize that there are things that you can do to become competent in those areas that you're most insecure. And a lot of people, when it comes to, like, let's say public speaking, would say go to something like Toastmasters, or just put yourself in an uncomfortable situation of having to speak to, like, let's say 2 people. Give a little speech to 2 people, to 2 friends that you trust. Say, hey, I'm gonna stand in front of you and I'm gonna read this thing I wrote. Put yourself in situation and create and invite in, and maybe invest in courses or something that will help you become better at that area, at that thing that you are super not confident in. And doing so will just make you a better individual all around, and one that doesn't shy away from these things in life and is able to grow into their full potential. So that is the next question. What number was that? That was the third question. Question number 4. Do you at all make an effort to reach out to others? So type 5s, especially at lower levels of health, tend to isolate themselves, right? And one of their feelings, your feelings may be that there's like lack and scarcity, and that your needs will not be met. But one of the self-defeating behaviors that you may, in this case, not do, or like one of the things that you don't do that actually helps that feeling perpetuate, is that you don't reach out to others. And oftentimes others, may be very willing and want to help you, but just because you don't ask, you don't receive. Ask and you shall receive. So that whole point of that question is like, are you at all reaching out to people to like hang out? Are you at all making an effort to have relationships, be with people? Because doing so will help overcome that basic fear of scarcity and lack and not having enough. So that's something to keep in mind. Question number 5, 4 5s. Do you have a quiet time? So just like I said, how physical activity can help the mind, well, also giving a break to the mind, not thinking, or at least like being present, being like meditating, let's say, breathing, and just not having incessant, constant thoughts. Because for 5s, they love thoughts, they love thinking, they love sitting with ideas, and it could be very exciting, right? But the thing is, actually being present is going to improve your thoughts. So like I found in my experience, when I meditate, let's say I have a 20-minute meditation, then when I get back to whatever I'm doing, and get into my workday, let's say, my mind is so much clearer. I can actually think so much more clearly. I can actually like have a thought, follow it, keep following it, not like go here and then go, and it's like this like ping pong, or not ping pong, it's like pinball machine of like the thought goes here and then boom, like goes 1,000 directions. Like I can't control it. But with meditation, it's like I go here and I'm like, okay, let's go here, and then I decide to go here, and then I go here, and then I like come to a conclusion. Um, it just improves your thinking so much, but it also improves your health. I mean, I really feel like my immune system has been so much stronger. Now I feel like I know it has been so much stronger just through meditating. So it's just good for everything. But just being present, taking deep breaths, being aware. You can check out my video called "The Body as a Gateway into the Present Moment." You'll probably just find it right before this video. That could be very helpful in your journey, and especially your journey with presence and being more in touch with your body. So hopefully these questions were helpful for you, and if they were, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. So thank you, and it's time now for 5 questions for type 6 to ask themselves. First question: are your belligerent actions and defensive reactions actually harming your security? Okay, so this is a little bit kind of disrespectful sounding, but let me explain. Type 6s go to type 3 in stress, right? So when they're super stressed out, they get super like action oriented. They do a lot. It's like a lot of frantic action, and it's coming out of insecurity and deep fear, right? That frantic action, may actually be hindering the fulfillment of that core basic desire, which is what? Which is to feel safe, to feel secure. And that belligerent action and defensive reaction actually is ending up harming the security that the 6 could experience, you could experience if you're type 6. And what ultimately would bring that security is deep realization of your true essence, your true self, which is always safe, right? That deep down, our deepest part within all of us, there's an aspect of ourselves that will never change, that was here before we were even born and will be here after we leave. And that aspect, our spirit, if you will, is always safe. And so when you get in touch with that through presence, through being present, you can check out my video called "The Body as a Gateway into the Present Moment." I'll link it below. But basically that will help you and guide you in that practice. That is where true safety is found. And these frantic actions may actually be pushing safety away versus bringing it in. So that's something to just keep in mind. Next one. Question number 2. When you achieve a goal, do you stop long enough to relax, breathe, and savor the moment? So Russ Hudson, who is actually one of the authors of this book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram, he in his new program called Enneagram 9 Gateways to Presence, he says something that I thought was pretty funny. He said that it's almost like type 6s and type 9s sign an agreement prior to birth that they will not be narcissistic. They will not take any credit for the awesome work that they do. It's like, I'm just doing what I gotta do, kind of like that attitude. So when you achieve a goal, you don't stop to take it in, to say, wow, like, this is awesome. This is sweet what I accomplished. And really enjoy it. It's almost like immediately either the type 6 is stressed out about the repercussions of their success and the attention that will be brought on them because of it, or they are going into like the next thing, So just making sure that you are savoring the moments that you are succeeding. That is a really important thing. Okay, question number 3. Do you feel like others know better what to do than you? So, I mean, this goes back to kind of like a core tendency of type sixes, which is to look for safety and security outside yourself, not believe that inside yourself you will have the inner guidance to guide you to the right thing, and always look for an authority figure out there to listen to trust, to follow. So like asking this question of like, do you think that other people know better what to do than you, may be very helpful. And I relate to type sixes a lot because as a type 9, which is my core type, I go to 6 in times of stress, or I start feeling this similar to what type 6 would feel. I know what it's like to feel like you can't or don't know the answers and you have to look outside yourself for security. But oftentimes I found that like when in those moments, if you just stop and you pause and you breathe, you may realize that you do know the answer and you do know what will be the best path forward, and that you don't have to look for some outside authority figure to tell you what to do and make you feel safe. And so realizing that that belief will bring the evidence that you do have the answer and you do have the inner guidance that you can count on. So that's just something to use this question to bring your attention to. So that is the third question. Now, question number 4. Do you at all seek out variety or diversity? So type 6s tend to stick to what they know and don't risk finding something new. Or basically what I'm trying to say is like, let's say you go to a restaurant and you always get the chicken nuggets. Okay, and you are not like wanting to either A, try a different place and get, try their chicken nuggets, or try a different option of food from that same place, let's say. And you always do the same thing. But because you're not risking finding something new, you may be missing out on something else that you would like so much more, or just an experience that would be awesome to have, just a new experience. So being so like anti seeking out diversity and variety may actually be limiting your life in a significant way. So just, you don't have to like go like do something drastic, but just like, realize that you have this tendency to stick to what is familiar, as we all do to a degree, right? But realize that you can introduce some variety, and just like make yourself introduce some variety just to expand yourself, to grow yourself. Be like, you know what? I always get the chicken nuggets here. Let me try their, burger this time, or something like that, and just see, or chicken sandwich instead of just getting chicken nuggets. I'm just using this example because I feel like this is applicable to my own life. But yeah, I think it could apply to any situation. So that's kind of the encouragement that I wanted that question to bring. It's like, I have a tendency to stick to what I know and what's familiar and don't try anything new. But if I do, it will help me grow significantly and experience new things and make my life more full and rich. So that is something to just keep in mind with that question. Last question. Do you shortchange yourself by believing that your own self-development doesn't matter? Okay. So the type 6s tend to, they kind of put themselves in the backseat. It goes back to like what Russ Hudson says about like it's like they've signed a paper of like, I'm not going to be narcissistic. They tend to shortchange themselves and not work on their own self-development, and maybe focus on other people's self-development, or like maybe just decide to take a back seat, like, I'm just going to shortchange myself. I'm not going to really take myself seriously. I'm not going to invest time and effort into my own growth and development. But asking that question is like, if you ask yourself and your answer is yes, I do shortchange myself. Yes, I don't spend time in developing myself. Then by asking that question, begin to introduce some reframing into your your habitual responses and be like, what if I actually did invest time in my own growth, into my own self-development? What would that be like? What would that bring into my life? And you may be very pleasantly surprised at the answers and the outcome of that question, and at you asking yourself that. So hopefully these questions were helpful for you. If they were, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And without further ado, let's jump into the questions for type 7s. Question 1 for type 7s. What difficulty have you been avoiding, and what has that avoidance cost you? So this is something that just randomly one day this realization came to me, and I wrote it down. That was like the genesis of this whole idea for this video. Randomly, I got this idea that, what if I just asked myself on a consistent basis as a 9, what difficulty / conflict / uncomfortable reality have I been avoiding, and what has that avoidance cost me? So I just asked myself this question one day, and I was like, wow, that would actually be a good question for type 7s. And then I was like, what other questions would be good for these types, and that's kind of where the idea for the whole video came from. But I realized that like a lot of times as a 9 and a 7, 7s seek fun, avoid pain, and therefore tend to not look at certain uncomfortable realities and problems and certain things that they're just brushing under the rug. But as they're not paying attention to those things are becoming bigger and a bigger problem later on to then that they then have to fix later, and that just won't actually be a good situation, and it actually will prevent the 7s and the 9s to get their basic desire met and avoid their basic fear, which is like the basic fear of the 7 is to like feel pain, I believe. So actually, you know what? Why think? Let me just go here real quick. The type 7. Again, this book is called The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Don Risso and Russ Hudson. Okay, type 7. The basic fear of type 7 is of being deprived and trapped in pain. The basic desire for type 7 is to be happy, satisfied, and to find fulfillment. So not looking at those difficult circumstances will actually prevent you from getting your basic desire and your basic, and overcoming your basic fear. So again, the question was, what difficulty have you been avoiding, and what has that avoidance cost you? You would definitely benefit from asking that question on a consistent basis, because the whole point of these questions is to just bring awareness. And this question can most certainly bring a very helpful awareness into your life and all of our lives, really. So that was question number 1. Question number 2, are your choices and actions actually bringing you more pain? So this is something that I always think about, with my type 7 friends, and they would admit this too, if they are working on themselves and trying to be better, be a higher version of themselves, the best version of themselves. They would say that like certain actions that are pleasure seeking in the moment, and this goes into almost like all short-term gratification kind of situations, that actually, so let's say you tend to go for the sugary snack that then gives you a crash, or like just overall makes you lethargic and unhappy, and it has a bunch of negative side effects. But in the moment, it gives a certain satisfaction. It gives a certain dopamine rush, right? So that choice or action, is it not actually bringing you more pain, which is something you want to avoid as a 7? Deeply you want to avoid pain. So just notice how your decisions to seek the pleasurable thing and choose that option, how that actually may be counterproductive to what you want to experience in your life. And so again, just a question that will help bring some awareness into our day-to-day life. Next question. Are your thoughts leading you away from experiencing feelings? So this goes again back to that core avoidance of pain that sevens do, that sevens have. That avoidance of pain, sometimes there's like these feelings that are painful, and the seven will go to their thoughts and imagine fun things to do and avoid facing that. But oftentimes these feelings that are repressed or suppressed and we're not paying attention to, just because they're suppressed doesn't mean they're not becoming bigger. And if you actually check out my video, the letting go video, or how to handle emotions is the title of the video. I'll link it down in the description. That is like my most popular video so far on my channel, and I'm so glad that is the one video that took off, because that video, the technique that it teaches in there is so helpful at helping us not suppress and repress these emotions. So if there's pain, it teaches us how to, be with that pain, sit with that pain, and digest that pain, and let go of that pain, release it so that you can be free. And ultimately, the greatest desire for sevens is freedom. And through doing so, through being free of these painful feelings, by actually doing the right, processing them the right way, looking at them, not running away from them, you will actually grow significantly in your, accomplishment of your basic desire. So it's just a win-win situation, even though it may not be pleasurable in the short term. Okay. Question number 4. Is your impatience leading you to not fully cultivate your gifts? So sevens are so talented, but they're so impatient and looking for like a new fun thing to do. Cultivating gifts and mastery, as some people say, like mastery takes 10,000 hours. Another great book on the whole topic of mastery is a book by Robert Greene called Mastery. And basically, like, it just takes a lot of time to master something really well and like be dedicated. And the impatience of seven may actually rob them from the fun that would come from becoming masterful and competent at something, and the integration point, the direction of health for sevens. What is it? It's going to type 5. And type 5, what is like their main thing is that they want to become competent. They want to become really, really masterful and good at something. And what that takes ultimately is to put in the time, put in the hours, practice, and then that practice will make perfect and will make you competent. And with that competence comes true happiness, true fun, true pleasure. People who have really mastered something, they will express how fun it is to do that thing. Somebody who's really mastered golf or mastered playing the piano, like, it's more fun for them than when they're practicing and they're like, they hit the wrong notes and they're not like used to the keyboard in the piano example. And the joy comes after the mastery, in a sense, And again, not that like the journey is not joyful also, but I'm saying that like there's a happiness that comes from competence. And that is something that sevens deeply yearn for, but sometimes this impatience tends to rob them short of accomplishing that. So it's just something to, again, be mindful of. Now, lastly, are you present? That is the 5th question. Are you present? Have you done anything today to become present? Have you meditated? Have you taken a few deep breaths just to get in touch with what's going on in this moment? Because the sevens tend to be so like excited and in their head and like thinking about fun things to do, that then they miss the moment that they're in. And there's so much fun in this moment, so much like joy to be gained out of being fully present with the simplicity of the moment. So the 7 may plan a trip to Greece for months and then go to Greece and then be so preoccupied in here and about like other things, fun things to do, because that's become the habit, that now they're not present and enjoying the experience. So they're never getting the full nourishment from the experience. I've experienced this when I'm eating food. If I'm eating food really fast and just really mindlessly, like just like basically like shoveling the food down my throat, like that is not going to really feel like a very nourishing experience. I may feel full physically, but I'm not going to fully feel nourished. But when I take my time with every single bite, and really like if I'm eating something, like just like feeling like the taste, that like everything, the whole experience, it nourishes me way beyond physical nourishment. It's just like it just does something for me spiritually. I was just present with this gift of nourishment of this food, and it helps me like have energy to do things like shoot this video. And what a gift is that, you know? Like, and so it's just like it just makes life better to be present, and the joy of the present moment, which is ultimately like deepest joy, will become revealed to you and bring way more fun into your life. So practicing being present, practicing meditation, these things will tremendously help type 7s. And asking yourself, have I been present today? Have I been, have I checked in with myself? Have I taken some deep breaths and really centered myself? Have I done any of that today? That will be really helpful on your journey. So hopefully these questions helped you out. If they did, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and thank you for watching this video. Again, my name is PJ, and it was truly a joy to bring this series into the world and out for you guys to watch it. If it was helpful for you in any way, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if there are other questions that you have found to be helpful for you, please let me know also. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to my channel if you feel called to. I put out videos on the Enneagram and other topics that all fall under the umbrella of finding and becoming more in touch with who you truly are, deep down, your essence, and bringing that and expressing that out more and more into the world through the unique self that you are. And so if you want to see more videos like that and about that stuff, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out in understanding what resonates with my audience, what topics they want to hear more about. And again, I'm just super grateful that you gave me your time and spend this time with me. Super last quick thing, but super important thing. I am working on a course that is actually called Moving into Higher Levels of Consciousness based on the Enneagram, or with the help of the Enneagram. And it's based on a video that I made that for some reason it like got a lot of views. I didn't think it will, but it's basically the same name, How to Move into Higher Levels of Consciousness with the Enneagram. And if you want to learn more about what that whole concept even means, check out that video. I'll link it up there. The link is also in the description. But I'm working on a course that goes in depth into each of the types, and talks about how each type can really help with the Enneagram, with the help of the Enneagram, evolve and raise their consciousness. So if you're interested in that course, my first release will be to the people in my newsletter. There's a link in the description. It says sendfox.com or something like that. But basically I have a header. It says, sign up in the newsletter by clicking this link. That link will, if you sign up to my newsletter through that link, you will be the first recipient of my, course when it gets offered and released, and you will also be able to receive discounts on it. So if you're interested at all in that, if you like Enneagram and want to see how you can use it to improve and raise your consciousness, then please consider subscribing to my email list, and you will be the first to hear when the course drops. So again, thank you. My name is PJ. Thank you guys for watching this video, and hopefully it was truly helpful for you. And with that, I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you in the next video.